Good evening, and welcome to our continuing series, Explorations in Savitri with Alok Bhai. Today is the funeral of Gerard from Oroville, who was one in the first bus to come to Oroville, and worked for years and years on the construction of the Mandir. He had a heart attack and fell, and his head broke open on the floor.
Yesterday?
Yes.
Strange, I didn't know.
Yeah. So I dedicate this evening to him.
He was working in the gardens, no? Or orchard.
No,
That
not
Gerard?
that Gerard.
Okay.
French Gerard. Another
Oh.
French Gerard.
Okay.
Yes. Today we continue with Canto 11, the kingdoms and godheads of the greater mind.
We are on page 261.
Yes, towards the very end.
Yes, and I would repeat this line because when Mother was describing the difference between the old world and the new world, she describes very interestingly that the old world was a world of the gods, the overmind. Overmind is a world of the gods. And the supramental world, by its very nature, will go beyond the gods. And then she says that means the relation between human beings and the beings of these worlds is going to change. So that's the line we had read last time. But since our secret selves are next of kin, actually we have come from there, and something in us still holds this kinship. When Sri Aurobindo speaks of Superman, he says he will be like a god upon earth. And of course, we have to take this sentence very, very carefully because it's so easy to delude oneself into believing one is a god. But the beauty is God's work veiled in the light. It is very rare that gods will declare that I am a god and start all this. Wherever you see 1008 Varshri, be careful. The sun does not need to declare itself that I am sun. It is there. Whatever dress it wears, white, red, brown, orange, anything, it always gives light. But since our secret selves are next of kin, a breath of unattained divinity visits the imperfect earth on which we toil. So time to time there are visitations, time to time this breath, this light touches human hearts and human minds and illumines it because we come from there. It's like a telegram old days or an SOS or an SMS. It's the original SMS coming from our next of kin. That how are you doing? All well? And just sometimes a nice thought. So from these higher realms, the realm of the gods, it inspires us, informs us to do things which we cannot even imagine.
Mother also speaks about certain realized beings
Yes.
who come down to help us.
And when she was asked that why was man made to forget that he is a god, she said so that he can develop humility. Otherwise, he'll develop arrogance. That's why it's so important. But potentially man is a god. This is the difference. He's potentially a god and it is his work to realize it. But that realization is through service, through dedication, through sincerity and not by just, proclaiming oneself.
Well, Mother speaks about Nietzsche
Yes.
as the aggrandizement of
Aggrandized.
man.
So God is not an aggrandized humanity. That's how many of the gods of the Puranas are. But gods are those they are aspects and powers of the divine. And man, when he unites and as he unites, he begins to manifest one or the other aspect or aspects of the divine. And that's how he becomes one with the gods. Across a gleaming ether's golden laugh, a light falls on our vexed, unsatisfied lives. So well Sri Aurobindo understands us. So when people used to, that letter of Nirod Bharan, you are sitting in your lotus eating land.
You don't have
Sri
to do
Aurobindo used to
anything.
say, no sir, digging in the subconscious mire. He was not a lotus eating mystic who was disconnected with earthly reality. And one line, half a line, vexed, unsatisfied lives. So he knows what we are. A thought comes down from the ideal worlds and moves us to new model even here. Some image of their greatness and appeal, and wonder beyond the ken of mortal hope. So, wonder beyond the ken of mortal hope, I am reminded of Da Vinci. There are many others, but look at Da Vinci. He is the first person in modern times. We had the Pushpak and all that age. But in modern times, the first person who conceived an aircraft is Da Vinci. So it's amazing, at that age. People hardly know it. Everybody talks about, Wright brothers. But he's the one, 300 years before, at least 200 years. Now, there was recently even a debate about whether flying machines existed in India or not, on Pushpak. And there was a very, debate going on, and people were laughing, oh, it's a myth, etc., etc. Now, my take on this was not whether it's a myth or reality, that's not the point. But I wonder if 10,000 years back somebody could conceive that a machine could fly in air, that itself is fantastic. Somebody could see so far. It's amazing that you could fly from Sri Lanka all the way to Ayodhya. I mean, I can't imagine that, how could someone conceive that there is a possibility when there are not even motor cars? So, it's amazing. So, wonder which could mold life here. So, it starts with a conception. And that's what we see today, time to time, in the imagination of the race. And the other day, what was the story I think you were saying about some new film where people have begun to imagine things, which is a sign that something new is going to come. It's so strange that human beings, we call it imagination, but actually it's not imagination. It's something which comes from another realm, takes hold of the brain, and the poet or the writer is compelled to, express it, and much later it turns out to be true.
But don't you feel that in previous incarnations of the earth, the Incas
Incas
had airfields?
Yes, absolutely.
And at Atlantis,
Yes.
they were far more advanced
Yes.
than we are right now.
And the lesson was always, and Sri Aurobindo reminds us, because he was asked, why did they collapse? So he says very clearly, because of the asuric nature. So there are two lines of development. One is even the asura can wrest tremendous forces of nature, and yet they collapsed because of the arrogance, the pride, the ego. About Trojan War, Sri Aurobindo says very much the same thing, that Troy was a very developed civilization, but it had developed in isolation of the rest. So it had to be pulled down. Nature has been teaching us the first lesson that all life is one. Don't cut yourself off from the great mighty current of universal life and start aggrandizing yourself. Gods never do that. God spread out. So that's,
And what do you feel about certain religions who insist on being separate from the rest of the world?
Absolutely, the regardless of the founder, and at the risk of getting a fatwa, they are asuric in nature, without a doubt. It's only the asura who can, believe in me and me alone.
Yes.
My religion is the best. It's a very childish mentality, my daddy best and strongest. And a child grows up and discovers that no, that is an idealized father who is within me, whom I have to discover, whom I have projected onto me, regardless of the founder.
Yes.
Take for instance Christ. Christ is wonderful. He is an avatar. But what happened to Christianity is a different thing. So I always differentiate between, let's say, Christ and Christianity. And I would do the same about Muhammad and his followers, regardless of,
Yes.
whatever it is, he was a mystic striving in those far back times in the land of Arabia. But to turn him into the ultimate and the thus far and no further evolution has stopped. That is largely the work of followers because it gains them political advantage, and it was used as a political tool to um, massacre the rest of humanity. So,
Yes.
original founders, they are all like mystics who are striving for something.
There has been a major difference between the Christ.
Yes, yes, big difference.
Christ has been peaceful and he has been promoting.
Oh, yes, there is no
violence all
doubt.
around
We
him.
are all very passionate about that, and I don't deny that. Also, we have to see the context and the land. Also, we have to see that also the gap. See, Christ brought the arm of love. Mankind was not ready. So Muhammad brought the sword of, and obviously the sword fell into the wrong hands and the love was absorbed by weak hearts. So the result is what we see. So religion should be always differentiated from the originator. Even about
Correct.
Udar spoke about, even in the ashram, mother said that I can already see there are priests
Yes.
who are forming priest cults like flower cults or this cult, and they are becoming like mediators between you and the divine. So there is a tendency, but it won't happen now because of the nature of the supermind. But the tendency is there in human nature to become mediators. Amid the heavy sameness of the days and contradicted by the human law, a faith in things that are not and must be lives comrade of this world's delight and pain. Look at the, often Sri Aurobindo would combine seemingly contradictory things. This world is not just pain, dukkham. We have declared it to be anityam, asukham. There is a side of the world. In fact, when speaking about the nature of the world, Buddha said dukkha is one of the truths you have to realize. But there is also in it, there is delight, there is heroism, there is sacrifice, and you have to take the full account. So there is delight and there is pain. And contradicted by the human law, there is here, dwells along with that, a faith in things that are not and must be. It drives all idealism. That's why, these are the two lines human beings take when they go through difficult experience in life. One becomes a cynic, and that is the fate of Karna. Another goes through similar experience, and he becomes an idealist. That we see is Arjuna, who even on the battlefield, despite being, there is a complete righteousness is on his side, but still he is asking, should I shoot an arrow or not? Karna is not flinching even for a moment because he has gone through difficult experiences, but he has become a cynic. This is life and I must prove myself. So this is where we must be very careful that as we go through life, we must nurture this faith, which in children is spontaneous, that there are things which are not, but should be, must be, and will be.
Yes.
And we finish it in the name of practicality. But that is a breath of God from the higher realms. The child of the secret soul's forbidden desire, born of its amour with eternity. This trust that nothing will happen to me, this spontaneous instinct of being immortal. The soul is immortal. Why can't?
But in love with eternity.
Because it is secretly in love.
Yes.
And yesterday I was reading one of the aphorisms of Sri Aurobindo in different context, where Sri Aurobindo says, for the body monogamy is best, but the soul is the eternal polygamist. Look at how he is using a term so beautifully. Who, despite being involved with whatever, is always ultimately in love with its secret beloved. So, look how Sri Aurobindo uses a word which is normally used in a negative sense and gives it a meaning far beyond its scope.
Yes.
The soul of man, because it's in amour with eternity. And that's what it is seeking. That's why people are unhappy. Because they expect the ideal to be there. And if you ask that why, I have often asked people who are thorough materialists and biologists, I say then why are you unhappy with life? Why should it be ideal? If it is true that there is nothing beyond matter, then that's the fact. Then there is nothing to, there is nothing like an ideal. Then you should be charvak. Don't put your feet in two boats. If you believe there is nothing more than matter, then charvak is the most logical man that heard about him. He is part of Indian philosophy, that charvak siddhant. So his siddhant is beg, borrow, steal money from any source, don't return it, because there is no afterlife and nobody to take account of it. It's logical. If there is actually, if there is nothing beyond this material body, then that's the most logical thing to do. At least be consistent and logical. But how much ever you may say, something in us trusts that there is something beyond our scope. It's amour with eternity. It's so wonderful word. Our spirits break free from their environment. The future brings its face of miracle near. Its godhead looks at us with present eyes. Acts deemed impossible grow natural. We feel the hero's immortality. Who could go into a battlefield, a lady with a child, 1-year-old child on the back, and challenge an empire? Rani Lakshmi Bai, unless you feel within you the sense of immortality. There is a very nice Conversations of the Dead. Sri Aurobindo has written, some which Nalnida has written. And in that there is a conversation between Shivaji and Jai Singh. And at the end, Jai Singh says that ultimately what your work came to. He says, well, I demolished an empire and it could never build itself again. And I established a kingdom which has taken roots and nobody can, throw it away from here. Look at that one person. We can't imagine, with all the odds loaded against him. How could he conceive that I can bring down an empire which has been persisting for centuries with all the army, and he has nothing but just a faith in Bhavani and the sword of Bhavani which she had given to him. So these beings are, obviously it's so true that Bhavani gave him the sword, meaning thereby her strength was there with him. That's why he could do the seemingly impossible.
Sri Aurobindo is the greatest
Of
example.
course, he is the greatest example. Who could challenge a whole empire and speak about Purn Swaraj. So, acts deemed impossible grow natural. We feel the hero's immortality, the courage and the strength death cannot touch. Awake in limbs that are mortal, hearts that fail. We move by the rapid impulse of a will that scorns the tardy trudge of mortal time. If you want to read these 4 lines in a large poem, a poem which can, in my view, make the near dead alive, is Baji Prabhu. I don't know if anyone has read the poem. Please read it. If you are, at least I had actual experience of being under drips, all collapsed, and a friend of mine asked me, what can we do for you? I said, please read Baji Prabhu. Halfway through I was sitting, throw away this. So powerful, where you have this example where, mortal limbs, Baji Prabhu with a handful of Maratha soldiers.
50 people.
50 people. Is guarding a pass against, can you imagine, 10,000 army composed of Pathans, Mughals, Rajputs, Afghans. All these people are against, and 50 men are guarding. It's a real historic incident, by the way. We have had something similar in Battle of Longowala and things like that. But imagine 50 persons guarding a pass against 10,000. And at the end, Baji Prabhu dies. But Sri Aurobindo described, before he dies, he experiences all Bhavani come over him. Kali has come over him. And with wounded, everywhere he is wounded. And he is fighting and he is asking only one thing. Now there are 2 soldiers left. And he says, just tell me, do you see the dust flying and can you hear the trumpets of Shivaji? Because somebody has gone to get help. And he says, I can see Shivaji is near. Shiva is near. And he says, now I can fall. and he falls. And then Shivaji comes and the fort is won. So that's the story of Singhgad Fort. And it was named after him. Shivaji said that Gad Ela, we have won the fort, but Singh Gela, the lion is gone.
I've recorded the entire poem.
It's an amazing poem.
Yes.
It's so visual, you cannot capture it on any screen. Sri Aurobindo is so visual in that there is blood dripping. I remember a scene where Baji Prabhu lifts his hand and takes off the blood-stained brow. And then he's simultaneously describing the bhava inside. You can't capture bhava on a screen. You need an actor who surpasses everything. So all these events are, so we normally think that it's saintliness, all the saints are, coming from some higher realm. Hero, they are very often, this heroism is born out of amour with eternity, limbs that are death bound but feel immortal. So this is another reminder that we should not go away by appearances. I mean, there are heroic saints, those Sikh gurus, but many saints today will run away if there is actually a challenge. Talking of immortality is one thing, but actually facing the gunshot is quite another. And look at the word that scorns the tardy trudge of mortal time. These promptings come not from an alien sphere. Ourselves are citizens of that mother state. Adventurers, we have colonized matter's night. Look, again he gives a new meaning to the word colonization. Original colonization. Matter's night, we have come from there, we are citizens. We hope one day in our passports we can write it. It will start as world citizens, and then it will be like, where are you citizen from? Our mind, sir. What are you doing here? We have come here to colonize night and change it into light. And it's a very beautiful line of Sri Aurobindo. I remember, how he reverses the argument. Normally it is said this world is a sphere of sorrow and suffering, and the soul alone is full of light, and then the next step is that you must escape from this world. Sri Aurobindo reverses the logic. If this world is full of sorrow and suffering and darkness, all the more reason that children of immortality and light must plunge into it and bring it there. All the more reason. It's so inspiring, so uplifting. Why should you escape then? All the more reason that you should plunge into it.
Make us the hero warriors.
Warriors. Today, this prayer, incidentally, today is the day when Mother gave this prayer, because today is the day 6 January when the name Sri Aurobindo International Center of Education was given. And this is the prayer the Mother gave to the children. Make of us the hero warriors we aspire to become. May we fight successfully the battle of the future that is to be born against the past that seeks to resist. May we be ready to receive the new things. So just like that. That is the heroism. And even about the supramental world, she says, it is the hour to be heroic. But then she describes heroism very well. It is the hour to be heroic. Tell your ego, your hour is gone. Real heroism is to slay the ego. It's line of Bulle Shah that you have fought the whole world, but apni nafas to ladi, and you have not fought with your own ego. How can you be anything worth it? So it's all about that heroism. But now our rights are barred, our passports void. We live self-exiled from our heavenlier home. So we are living like in a foreign land. That's why all who wake up to the soul state, there is a time in their life when they feel they are strangers. I'm sure, quite a few have experienced this. They feel as if they are in a strange world. What is this world? And why they are here, and what are they doing here? There was a movie by the famous doyen of Indian cinema who died an unfortunate death. You know the name Guru Dutt. And he had a movie called Pyasa, where he says, "Ye duniya agar mil bhi jaye to kya hai?" He feels completely alienated from the world. He says, what is this world? Why should I work for fame and name and all this? It's not worth having. So,
And it comes to all of us.
yes, everyone who is marked out at some point feels like
Absolutely.
a stranger in this world.
Absolutely.
And so imagine what a tough task mother has, calling all the strangers together and making them friends in her wonderful uh, world ashram. An errant ray from the immortal mind accepted the earth's blindness and became our human thought, servant of ignorance. So this ray has come, but in the mind it has become its own servant.
But it was an errant ray.
Errant ray. Actually, it is even, if you go to pure physics, how Shobindu works on very many levels. The ray of light that comes from the sun, out of thousands of photons which try to escape, only some 8% escape the sun. And the reason, because sun is a tremendous gravity, you can't escape. But there are few rays which escape the sun because they are in such a great velocity, and they are the ones that light up this whole world. Look at the symbol, errant ray. Its home is in the sun, and that's why when we invoke the fire in the Vedas, so fire is supposed to have 3 homes. So one is, of course, it's in matter. That's how this awakening of Kundalini. Then second is in the mid worlds, Vaishwanar. And the third is its own very home, is the supramental, from where it has errant ray has come here and entered into matter. An exile, laborer on this unsure globe, captured and driven in life's nascent grasp, hampered by obscure cell and treacherous nerve, it dreams of happier states and nobler powers, the natural privilege of unfallen gods, recalling still its old lost sovereignty. So it has been captured by matter. It has entered to illumine, but now it has closed in. And that is the great challenge. That which it comes to dispel, first it captures, swallows it. And from there it has to emerge. But it still remembers that deep inside we remember that state. That's why we want to create it here. And I always give this example of, in India, when women get married. So when they come, they will initially look like they have accepted the family and everything. But, slowly, they remember their customs at their home. And gradually they will start bringing one thing, another thing, and slowly everything begins to change because they are remembering. That's the ideal. So, and it's beautiful because that's how the Divine Mother does. She comes here and recreates this world in the image of that from where she has come.
Yes.
But what she becomes? The servant and slave and serf of all. She who is the Raj Rajeshwari, even the Divine Mother, when she came here, that's how she became. She would wear past saris, sit on the floor, sweep the place. And Nalinda describes how when she came first night in India, she stayed in a room which was a dark dungeon with white ants and rats. And he describes it that she who is Raj Rajeshwari lived like a most ordinary, ignorant mortal. And you have to go through that stage for till 50s, mother didn't have a room to herself. Today people say, oh, I prayed to mother, I have a koti. Imagine, she didn't keep a room for herself. That is how the divine shows what it means to really plunge into this night, become one with it. And that's why Sri Aurobindo said mother can transform this, because she identifies her consciousness with everyone and becomes like us. And someone asked her, mother, why did you come like us? Become like us. You could have come in your most splendid form.
Yes.
And the mother says, my child, if I didn't come like you, become like you, how can I tell you to become like me?
And you would never understand.
You will never understand. Then I'll be another god sitting in a temple where you break coconut and your head. That's the end of the story. But nothing changes. Beautiful these lines are. Amidst earth's mist and fog and mud and stone, it still remembers its exalted sphere and the high city of its splendid birth.
This one page alone,
Yes,
one
it's
could read
marvelous.
every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
It reveals who we are. It's like a lost identity. On the way, I was just taking a walk, and there was some Swamiji who was talking of, in a traditional Vedantic sense. Of course, whatever way he was presenting, because it's a yoga festival. But one of the things we are taught is I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. This one thing. My identity is not determined by my body, by my birth, by my surname, by my religion, by my caste, by my money, degree, etc., etc. But look here, what is our true identity? Our true identity is we are that, we are portions of that. And if you can just remember this, in the ancient Vedanta, this was the mantra given, Soham Asmi. This was the great mantra even given to Setketu, Tattvamasi. Thou art that. And if we just remember that deep within we are divine, deep within everything is divine,
Yes.
then life will begin to change.
The high city of its splendid birth.
Yes, that's our origin. A memory steals in from lost heavens of truth. A wide release comes near. A glory calls. A might looks out. An estranged felicity. Estranged. Sometimes, that's why when sometimes people come to ashram, a lot of people have said, I don't know why it happened. I started crying. Recently someone was asking, I don't know, Alokda, what happened? I came here and I just started crying. Why is it this? I said, you know what? Imagine since childhood, you are roaming like an orphan. You have never met your mother. And when you meet your mother for the first time after struggling for 20, 30 years, what will be your first response? And she again started crying. I said, that's it. Because we don't even realize. And the touch of that felicity you discover. And then it's revealed to you what were you doing all this while. Things which you were thinking are your own. But this is the real home. So when people tell me I am coming to Pondicherry, I message back, welcome home. So in glamorous passages of half-veiled light, wandering a brilliant shadow of itself, this quick, uncertain leader of blind gods, this tender of small lambs, this minister serf, hired by a mind and body for earth use, forgets its work mid crude realities. It is given this task. Blind gods, the gods of this little mind, the gods of the vital, they want to use this power for their own purposes. And it forgets. Mother once told, even one very interesting one, sadhak once confessed to me, very well known and beautiful person. He said, sometimes I feel, he was reminiscing at 80. Sometimes I feel how much time we wasted, our own and the mother's. So I asked him, why do you say so? He said, हम माता जी के पास जाकर क्या बोलते थे? What were we saying when we went to mother? Mother, हमारा promotion रुक गया है. Mother, हमारा उससे झगड़ा हो गया है. We had a fight with someone. I didn't get my promotion. Mother, I am having this problem. And she was listening to us. She who could give us the permanent remedy to all this. And yet this is what? And she was like a serf. That's how we treat God, like a genie in the bottle. Do this for me, do that for me. If you can't, you are not God. Poor God must be having a tough time, knowing that this is going to harm, this is going to hurt. And still he consents sometimes because the contact will be broken. He doesn't want that contact to be broken. But the real thing comes when we say, oh, we were treating you like this. No, mother, you know better than me. And she says at one place, number of problems will be solved if men understood that the divine wisdom is wiser than their own little intelligence. The day we understand, the most logical thing is surrender, and the most logical prayer is let thy will be done. It's not a blind prayer, it's the most logical thing to do. If the divine is wiser, why should I tell him? You know that Amrit Das famous story. Mother asked him on his birthday, what do you want? Amrita, nothing mother, nothing mother. Then everybody, Amrita asked, because mother is saying, you want liberation, I'll give you liberation. You want to go in some high heaven, I'll give you whatever you want. After much thought, Amrita says, give me 2 banyans. So people ask him, Amrit, why did you ask? She was giving you liberation, everything. She said, I know she will give. Is it something she has to tell me? I know it for sure. When I am ready, she'll give me. I don't need anything. I completely trust her. Then why did you ask? Because mother is saying so much, I have to respect her. She is commanding me.
Yes.
So I realized that I need 2 banyans. So I told her, mother, I need 2 banyans. You think I have to tell her? So what was his approach? I just serve you and give myself to you. What you need to do for me, you know best. Dyuman Bhai, mother told him, no? Dyuman, you do my work, I will do your work.
Yes.
So when we do mother's service, people in centers must have realized it. In ashram we realized it. It's so simple transaction. You are doing some outward work which you think is a big work, but maybe in the end nothing worth it. Treating patients, giving conventional medicines, nothing much. But in the bargain, when you do it as a seva, the divine says, okay, sadhana part I will do for you, that's your work. So it's a bargain, very good bargain. Though one should not do it in a spirit of bargain. It should be a joyous service. So she becomes the minister becomes the serf. So she is tending those small lamps, those little things, petty things that the vital gods are asking, blinded gods. They don't know what is good and they are asking, and she is saying, okay, I'll give you this. One day you will ask me for myself. It recovers its renounced imperial right. So this light forgets that, it's not here for these things. Our intelligence, which is only engaged in having more degrees, our strength, more money, more this thing, one day it realizes that, my God, I am not born for this. So it recovers its imperial right. I can be one with the gods. What is the difference between Hanuman and Bali? Both are strong. But after all, servant and bhakta of God is a servant and bhakta of God. One has to lie one day on the ground, dust unto dust, and another is exalted into a God. So this is the difference. So one day it recovers its renounced imperial right. Of its own it has renounced. Unwittingly. It wears once more a purple robe of thought. So purple color is always a color of royalty, wherever it comes. So it takes on a king idea, purple robe of thought. Its thoughts are no more the dull, drab, earthly round, what is we are going to eat tomorrow, when we go to Pondicherry, let's check out what are the hotels nearby. That is not its thought, purple robe of thought. And knows itself the ideals, seer and king, communicant and prophet of the unborn. Then this thought becomes a mediator between the divine and these earthly realities. Things which are not yet and must be, it begins to communicate that. Then it becomes a prophet and a seer. So we are reading the Greater Mind. See how Sri Aurobindo has connected us right up to there. He has given us the present reality. He has shown us what it can be, and he has shown us the way. He has given us glimpses, and then he gives us the way. That a time comes when we discover that we have renounced our own right. Purna Swaraj hamara janam siddha adhikar hai. We need not be slaves of the forces of nature, at the mercy of every blind destiny. We can be the masters of our own destiny if we discover the master of destiny within us and become one with him. Maybe a few lines, then we will stop. Communicant and prophet of the unborn, higher to delight and immortality. So this is our hiership. With these 2 words we can stop, which Sri Aurobindo in Sri Aurobindo Upanishads remind us. He tells us what are the thoughts of ignorant men. Ignorance tells us I am weak, I am helpless. That's why in depression we gravitate more and more towards darkness. I am no good. I am worthless. I am useless. I am the most rejected lot. The world does not understand me. God has also rejected me. But the true thought, which he reveals in Sri Aurobindo Upanishad, is I am a child of immortality. Amritasya putra. I am a child of delight. Anandasya putra. Heir to delight and immortality.